We are currently discussing Module 2 of Software Engineering course, the Requirement Engineering, which is nothing but Requirement Analysis and Specification. These are the topics we have already discussed in that particular module. What is Requirement Engineering? What are the different types of requirements available? What do you mean by feasibility study? What are the different types of feasibility study? We have also seen the first step of requirement engineering as requirement elicitation. We have discussed what are the different methods available for the elicitation process. Then we have seen what are the different steps in requirement analysis. Requirement analysis is the second step in the requirement engineering process. Today in this video, we are going to discuss the third step of requirement engineering, which is nothing but requirement documentation. The requirement documentation works as a base for the software designer, developer and the testing team. This is the document which will be given to the designers, developers and the testing team in the upcoming phases of software development lifecycle. The document contains functional, non-functional and behavioral description of the proposed software, and it acts as a contract between the customer and the developer. It is a way to represent requirements in a consistent format. The requirement documentation is a way to represent all the requirements in a very consistent format, because when you collect the requirements may not be consistent. You analyze, then when you are going to put it in the document, it gives you a very consistent format. This document is called as Software Requirement Specification, or SRS. SRS is nothing but Software Requirement Specification, and this SRS serves many purposes. One of the purposes is for the customer. When the document is written by the customer, it is generally used to define the needs and expectations of the customer. And also, if it is written by the developer, it serves as the purpose like for the design phase, and it acts as a contract or an agreement between the customer and the developer. So this is where the developer will decide what is to be done in the software. And the SRS gives the specification for the entire proposed system and the specification for the functionalities and its association. What are the different functionalities available? What is the expectations of the customer and how it can be designed? All these things will be specified in the SRS. Now, if I say SRS is serving all these kind of purposes, then the SRS should correctly define all the requirements, and it should not describe any design details. It should not impose any additional constraints. So the major role of SRS is for defining the requirements. It is just specifying what are the requirements, but it is not going to describe how these requirements can be attained. That will be left for the design people, and all the constraints etc. will be dealt in the upcoming phases. So here the SRS will be a well defined and structured document to describe the requirements of the software. Now let us see what are the characteristics of a good SRS. An SRS should be, if I want to call a software requirement specification document to be a good document, these are the characteristics it should have. It should be correct, it should be unambiguous, it should be complete, consistent, it should be ranked for important or for stability, it should be verifiable, it should be modifiable, and it should be traceable. So if an SRS has all these characteristics, then I can call it as a good SRS. So let us see what are these characteristics are. First one, the SRS should be correct. An SRS is correct if and only if every requirement stated there is the one that the software can meet or achieve. That only then I can call it as a correct SRS. All the requirements specified can be achieved or can be met when you are developing the software. Then you can say it is a correct SRS. The same way, an SRS can be called as an unambiguous one if and only if every requirement stated has only one interpretation. So whatever specification you have given for the requirement can be interpreted in a unique way. So that is going to give you only one interpretation and not multiple interpretation. So I give it to user 1, user 2, user 3. All the three are coming out with the same interpretation. Then I can say it is having only one interpretation. Suppose if your SRS is having multiple meanings for a particular term, then all these meanings must be specified in the glossary. Then I can say it is unambiguous. If you have multiple meanings for a particular term, all these meanings must be specified in the glossary. Then most of the time the SRS will be using a natural language, but if you use natural language, obviously it is going to be ambiguous. So what we can do, instead of using natural language such as English, we can use some requirement specification language. Some kind of notations etc. can be used in the requirement specification so that it will give you unique interpretation and not ambiguous interpretation. Then the next characteristic is complete. When you call an SRS as a complete SRS, only if it includes the following elements. What are the elements? The first one, all the significant requirements, whether related to functionality, performance, design constraints, attributes or external interfaces, all these significant requirements must be specified in the SRS. Apart from that, all these requirements responses should also be specified. What kind of responses you have to specify? For any requirement, if there is a valid input, what will be the response? If there is an invalid input, what should be the response? That should also be specified in the SRS. Then all the references for the figures, tables, diagrams, whatever you have used in the SRS, everything is labeled, everything is referred, everything has got its own definition. Only then I can say the SRS is a complete SRS. Now the next characteristic is consistent. When you call a SRS as a consistent SRS, you can call it as consistent if and only if no subset of individual requirements described in it conflict. So there is no conflict between requirement 1 and requirement 2. If so, you can call it as consistent. And also you should not have any conflicts for the same output with different format for different reports. Say for example, if your software is developing two different reports, the same output should not be described in two different formats. If you describe it in two different formats, then there is going to be a conflict arising. So if you generate an output, the output must be generated in the same format in all the kind of reports. That is very, very important. So if you are going to put anything in a graphical representation, put it in a graphical representation in all the reports. If you are going to describe it, then give all the symbols, labeling, etc. in a consistent manner. That is very important. Then the color descriptions for each and every object, if you have given any color, then the same color must be followed in the entire document. That is also very important. Not only that, you should not have any logical conflict and you should not have any temporal conflict also. So in the first page you might have specified the due date as June, and in the last page you are specifying the due date with some other month or some other date, etc. So that kind of conflict should not be there in the SRS. This is very important. Only then I can call it as a consistent SRS. Then SRS should be ranked. What do you mean by ranking? What you are going to do? You are going to have an identifier which can be attached to every requirement to indicate either the importance or stability of that particular requirement. Say for example, when you list the requirements, you can list it with some identifier, or you can list it based on the degree of importance, or you can list it based on the stability of that particular requirement. Then you can say it is a ranked SRS. Say for example, you may be prioritizing all the requirements, or you may be finding the degree of importance. So some of the tasks, some of the functionalities are very important for your software. Some of the functionalities you might have added just to improve the quality of the software. So what are the important what are the very important functionalities and the next level important functionalities, like that you can list them or you can rank them based on the importance of the requirements. Then you have SRS, it should be verifiable. It can be called as a verifiable if and only if every requirement stated is verifiable. And the last one is SRS should be traceable. If the origin of each of the requirements is very clear, then we can say it is traceable. And if it facilitates the referencing, that means what? Whenever you are going to have your requirement specified, from where this requirement originated, whether it is given by user 1, user 2, user 3, or you have collected the requirement from the existing system, or you have collected the requirement as a novel requirement, all these things must be specified. Apart from that, you must also have referencing in the future development. Requirement 1, how it can be enhanced. Requirement 2, how it can be put it in the future development. That should also be specified. Both backward and forward traceability should also be there in your document. You can use it, you can refer them using the reference number, so that you need not turn the pages. You can say this is number 1, number 2, like number 3, like that. You give an identifier and you can easily trace the requirements based on the reference number also. So if an SRS contains all these characteristics, then you call it as a good SRS. And the last one, your SRS should be modifiable. When you call SRS as a modifiable SRS, if and only if its structure, scheme and style are such that any changes to the requirements can be made easily, completely and consistently while retaining the structure and style. That is very important. You are not going to change the entire document. Instead, when you start introducing the changes in the requirement, the structure should not be changing or the style should not be changing. It must be made consistent. That is very important when you are going to modify a SRS. So if your SRS contains all these characteristics, then you can say it is a good SRS. Apart from that, a complete software requirement specification must be all the terms, all the characteristics what we have discussed earlier, that is put it in another term. It must be clear, correct, consistent, coherent, comprehensible, modifiable, verifiable, prioritized, unambiguous, traceable and credible source. So these are other terms that we can give for a good SRS, or these are other set of characteristics that we can give for a good SRS. Now the next thing that we are going to discuss is, once you have collected the requirements, when you start documenting, what is the format that I have to follow for the SRS? What can be the format or what can be the organization of the information that is to be put in the SRS? So as per Agarwal's textbook, this is the format that is being followed. Let us go to that particular format. This is the format that is specified in our Agarwal's textbook, which is the prescribed textbook for your course. You must have the introduction. In the introduction, you must specify what is the purpose of the software, the objective, the scope of your software, all the definitions, acronyms and abbreviations, the references and the overview. Then in the second part, you will be giving all the overall description of the software, the product perspective based on the interfaces, hardware, software, communication. All these information must be specified based on the product perspective. Then all the product functions must be specified, the user characteristics, the constraints that are available in the proposed software, all the assumptions and dependencies, then all the apportioning of the requirements. Then in the third part, your specific requirements will be given. So the first, you will be giving the introduction. Second, the overall description of the software. Then you go for the specific requirements. What are the different external interfaces? What are the different functions available? What are the performance requirements? The database, the design constraints, the software system attributes like based on the reliability, availability, maintainability, all these performance requirements, quality requirements must be specified. Then you can go for each and every objects, the features, the responses, the functional hierarchy, all these things can also be described. So then you will go for change management process. What do you mean by change management process? When you start changing the requirements or adding the requirements after completing the documentation, how it can be managed. Then the document approval, how many of them have approved, when it was approved, what are the legal aspects of that particular document, everything must be specified here. And any other supporting informations like the appendices or the the glossaries, references, etc. should also be specified. So this is the organization of the information that you have to put in the SRS. The introduction, overall description of the proposed software, then the specific requirements listed, then you go for the change management process if any, then the document approval details, then the supporting information. So this is the organization of SRS given or prescribed by Agarwal. So we have seen what are the characteristics of the SRS. We have also seen what is the organization of SRS. So with that, we are completing the requirement documentation. So your requirement documentation, just specify what is requirement documentation. Then we have seen what are the different characteristics of the good SRS. Then we have discussed what is the format of the SRS. When I say format of the SRS, once you have collected the information for the requirements, how these information must be organized in the software requirement specification document, that also we have discussed. So with that, we are completing the first 3 steps of requirement engineering process: requirement elicitation, requirement analysis and requirement documentation. So in our next video, we will be discussing what is the requirement review process or the validation process. Thank you.